And when I woke up this morning, I was feeling pretty dangerous.
And if we're talking tight ends and we're going into round 2, maybe round 3, give me Ian Thomas, please. Let's just do the damn thing.
Just based on giving his overall ability. Again, I like his arm. I think he can make every throw.
The pick at number 12 is in.
All right, yes, we're back. Cover 1, the Draft Podcast. I'm Russell Brown. With me, Central Michigan right guard, Oge Udego. I'm butchering. One more time.
Udego. Oge Udego.
All right. Well, appreciate it, man. Thank you for taking the time to talk with me. Welcome to the show. Guys, I've been watching some film, and it was kind of passed along to me about Oge of how some of the things that he does and some of the nastiness that he plays with on the field. So I took a look, and I've watched 3 games over the last 24, 48 hours or so, and I really like what I see, and I think this is a guy that we'll be talking about more throughout the draft process. I know we've only got a little over a month to go, but I think we will certainly see his name pop up more and more as we talk about interior offensive linemen. So, okay, how we doing today, man?
Doing good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's Sunday, hour and a half from now. Michigan State will be tipping off against Ohio State. A big college basketball fan here, big college football fan, college sports fan in general. So I'm excited. But let's talk about you. Let's talk about your process through the 2020 NFL Draft. And let's go back all the way to really you playing back home in Chicago. Walk me through when you started playing high school football.
So I actually grew up in Nigeria, moved out here when I was 16, going into my junior year of high school. I always played basketball. I played soccer, track, volleyball, pretty much anything under the sun other than football. I had no idea what football was. I got out here in the summer going into my junior year, and I was in basketball practice with my high school team at St. Viator High School in Arlington Heights, Illinois. And the football coach sat in on the practice after. He came up to me. He's like, "Hey, man, I'm Coach K. I need you to try out football." And I was like, "Yo, I have no idea what football is. I've always played basketball. I don't know if I'd be good at it." But I was like, "Yeah, I'll give it a shot." He was like, "If you don't like it after a week, I'll leave you alone, and for the rest of your time at St. Viator, I won't bother you." So I went out on the first practice. I'm sure everyone's watched The Blind Side. It was more of it was against our starting center. You line up and push him as far back as you can. And thinking back when I was like, technique was horrible, but I was able to drive him 15 yards, 20 yards, and put him on his back. And I was like, I actually like this. Like, this is a great feeling. Like, this is legal. I'm allowed to do this. And I was like, I actually might like this sport. And so that's kind of how I got into football in high school.
That's awesome. And you played your junior and senior year, and then obviously you gained some recognition and went through the recruiting process. How was that recruiting process like? I mean, you ended up going to a junior college, but did you have any interest from any small D2, D3, or even Division I schools through the process?
Actually, I had big time Power 5 schools coming through school. I had Michigan State was actually the biggest school that was on me at that time. I had Oklahoma State came through, Iowa State, a bunch of the MAC schools came through, Pac-12 schools and all that. And the thing was, because I went to school my first 2 years in Nigeria, the NCAA didn't accredit my first 2 years of classes. So I wasn't able to be eligible to transfer or to graduate and leave to a 4-year college right after high school. So that's why I did my research on my own and found a great junior college in City College of San Francisco. And that's where I ended up going.
Yeah. And you were there, and you guys were very, very talented. You guys won back-to-back Northern California championships, and that ultimately put you in the transfer window, and you were able to go to probably a handful of schools. I mean, I know you went to Iowa State, but were you leaning towards any other school? I mean, were you leaning to maybe go to Illinois or Louisville? I know those teams had shown some interest in you.
Yeah, I had Louisville. Louisville was my first offer, and that's kind of what kicked it off. Louisville, Mississippi State, Illinois, Iowa State, and Houston. Those were kind of the ones I was on. And honestly, I was leaning a lot towards Houston, was leaning a lot towards Illinois as well, just because that's where I went to high school. But the Iowa State coaches actually recruited me back at high school when they were at Toledo. And this was their first year at Iowa State that we were going into. And the offensive line coach had won Offensive Line Coach of the Year. You know, his O-line at Toledo played amazing that season. And, you know, I knew where I was at. I knew what I needed in order to get to where I needed to go. And that was get the best coaching I can, whether in technically and mentally. And I felt like Iowa State was the best fit. And I had a prior relationship with them. So it was a good fit for me. And that's why I went with them.
Yeah, and I mean, you were working with offensive line coach at the time, Tom Manning. He ultimately went to the Colts for a little bit of time to coach tight ends, and things didn't necessarily work out for you. You got dinged up a little bit with the injury to the triceps and the elbow. So walk me through that process. I mean, how do you feel after you go to Iowa State? You feel like you're kind of breaking through with a D1 school, and then the injuries happen. I mean, how hard did you have to work to really get back on the field?
So, I mean, obviously I was a kid that is relatively new to the sport. That was the first time throughout the whole process that the game had actually been taken from me by injury, by something I couldn't really control. And it was very hard, you know, went through a lot, probably the lowest point in my life, honestly, went through a lot of depression and all that. But I was able to move forward with that and really grow from that and really discover a lot about myself and really become more of a man than I ever thought I could be. And that's why, honestly, one of the things I love about this sport is that it does challenge you mentally, and it does make you really think outside of yourself and really look at what you need to do in order to be the best version of yourself, you know?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, well, and I mean, it seems like no matter how many times the cards are stacked against you, you find a way to persevere and you continue to come back out stronger and better than ever. And really that's what happened here where you know, the cards were against you at Iowa State with the injury. You weren't able to heal properly and you ended up hitting the transfer window again. And this time you had offers to Central Michigan, Houston again, Fresno State. I know you said you had really leaned towards Houston the first time. What made you go to Central Michigan rather than Houston on that second turn?
Well, it was a different coaching staff this time around, even though some of the guys that were there before, like me and Josh Jones, offensive tackle, who's like going to be a top 5 pick, we are really good friends. And honestly, he was actually my host on my first Houston visit, and he was a catalyst in me wanting to go back there. But I took my visit to Central Michigan, and Coach McElwain and, you know, the other coaches, my O-line coach, and it was just what I felt when I got there, and it was going to be a chance to play right away. You know, it felt like the best scenario for me to be successful regardless of some of the other teams. And I kind of went with Central Michigan because I trusted the coaches. I trusted what they had going on, even though we were 1-11 the year before. But obviously you could see last season we had a very good season. So
certainly. And I mean, your offensive line coach, Mike Cummings, truly maybe one of the more underappreciated offensive line coaches in the country. He helped develop a former CMU star who I played against in high school, Eric Fisher, who ended up being he was the first overall pick in 2013. And he's done a really good job developing you. So you've started 12 games at right guard. Like I said, I've watched 3 games so far, Miami, Florida, Eastern Michigan, and Bowling Green. Watching that Eastern Michigan game, I've got to ask, when I watched the broadcast footage of it, and they talked about the importance of a rivalry and how some of the Central coaches were saying it was a rivalry. Other coaches from the Eastern side were not calling it a rivalry. Regardless, one way or another, when you watch the film, you're getting into it with some guys. You're putting them into the dirt. Things are getting physical after the play. You're kind of crawling on top of guys after you put them in the dirt and just kind of, I don't know, putting that chip on your shoulder in a sense. I mean, was it getting physical down there? Clearly it was, but like, was it getting chippy and chirpy? And I mean, would you classify that as a rivalry in a sense?
Honestly, I mean, I've only played at Central for 1 year, but that game was one of the most physical games of the year. Those guys came to play, and I was very appreciative of it because they pushed me, I pushed them, and there was a lot going on here and there. And, you know, it was a great game. It was a great game. I'm glad we came out on top, but those guys came to play for sure. And I would say definitely it is a rivalry.
Yeah, it really was. And I mean, when you watch the game against Miami, Florida, too, I mean, those guys are some of the faster defensive players in the country when you got, Michael Pinckney and Shaq Quarterman at linebacker. And these guys are coming to play for sure. And you're handling your own. And do you think that's one of your strengths, your ability to kind of – because I think as games go on, you get better. I think you tend to adapt to the players around you, and you get a feel for what they're doing. Do you feel like that's one of your strengths?
I think I would agree that is something that is my strength. I think that no matter what the competition is, I'm able to not only play to it, but play above it and be able to dominate. And that's what I pride myself in, being able to go out there and dominate every player that I play and finish them and really show them what I'm about so they can feel me throughout the game.
For sure. Now, a lot of people like to, and it's something I really covet when I talk with players and watch players, is I love to see versatility. I know at Iowa State you played a little bit of both left and right guard, but at Central you were, again, the 12-game starter at right guard. If a team drafts you and they bring you in to play left guard, do you think you can make that transition from, last year at right guard to left guard? Is it going to be easy for you?
I think it's going to be very easy for me. One, the biggest thing is because in junior college, we would switch based on boundary and field. So in a game, I could get half snaps at right guard, half snaps at left guard. I could go one play at right, then two at left, and then one at right. Like it's something that really helped me out because I can play fluidly at left and right guard. And I've been working a lot on center too, so I can be a very versatile player on the interior O-line.
Well, I look forward to seeing really where that development happens and that transition with that versatility. Obviously, now we're into the draft process. So you have this time to kind of look back, because the very last game of the year at Central, you ended up actually breaking your arm, and it kind of put a damper on the end of the season with the bowl game and everything that was there. How's that turning out to be? I mean, have you been able to bounce back from that broken arm?
Oh, man, bounce back even better. Like I was saying, at Iowa State, I suffered my first injury, and that kind of took me for a whirlwind. But this time around, honestly, I was able to bounce back so much quicker. Again, a bone is not nearly anything as a ligament. It healed amazingly. I've been benching, throwing my arms just like before, have all my strength back. It's something that I've been able to bounce back even better than before, and I'm in the best shape of my life right now.
Well, you were listed at 6'3", 310, I believe. What do you think you're at right now?
I'm going to be a solid 316 for pro day. I put on a lot of good muscle, and I think that's a solid way for me to be at.
Pro day for Central Michigan, folks, March 20th. Will you be doing everything that they ask of you, or is there something will you be doing the bench reps and everything like that?
Yeah, as of right now, I'll be doing everything.
Cool. Well, it's going to be a lot of fun there. And to prepare for it, you've been down in Atlanta. That's where you're at right now, working out DSA athletics. You've been working with Vince Vance, who played for the Bears. He played at Georgia. Walk me through that process. How's it been working out in Atlanta?
It's been great. Atlanta is a beautiful place. I'll start from there. I love it out here. But as far
Not
as
that traffic, though.
Oh, no, the traffic is bad. But the weather, I'll take it over Michigan. Even though Michigan's looking up right now. I'm excited to get back to Michigan. But, the weather out here is nice, man. But the Vince Vance has really gotten me right. He does a lot of O-line specific work, whether it be strength training and skill work. And so that's been pretty much what's been a driving force in my growth this last 8 weeks getting ready for pro day.
When you walked into his facility, what was some of the first things that you guys started working on? What was the first thing that he said, hey, this is what we need to improve with your game?
The biggest thing has been just the bare fundamental of things and just the feel for the game and how the movement should feel. Mm-hmm. And that's been the biggest thing, kind of breaking it down from ground zero and starting back up and kind of figuring out where it is, where those lapses are, and really working through it. So becoming more of a complete player.
Right. And right now, I mean, you guys have been going through all this training and everything, but I know you guys are watching film. And when I say you guys, I mean everybody through the draft process. When you go back and watch film, what are some things that you look for as an offensive lineman, especially with so many moving parts on a defense? Because you could be dealing with an ET stunt, you could be dealing with, a slant and angle. And at times you guys are double teaming, whether it's a zero shade or a three technique with the right tackle or whatever it might be. You're constantly going through different things. So what are some things that you look for when you watch film?
And so that was kind of the biggest thing was actually when I was at Iowa State with Tom Manning, I learned how to really watch film and what to look for and most, if not almost all defensive players will give you a tell on what they're doing. There are tendencies, and if you do watch the film, you can tell what's going on and you can tell what's about to happen. And if you do that, you're going to equip yourself the best way, the best footwork, and the best way to execute that play. And so that's what I look for in film: tendencies, look for like pass rush moves and what the defensive lineman or the linebacker tends to do, what their secondary moves are, and just simple stuff like that will really help the game and make it a lot easier for you on Saturdays or Sundays here coming up.
For sure. So last, 2 or 3 questions through your process. I know you didn't go to the combine or anything, but have you met with any teams thus far or had any conversations with them? You don't have to tell me any specific teams, but does that happen through this process so far?
Yeah, I've actually had a couple of teams that have really shown some interest. There's been a couple of pretty good teams that have shown strong interest, but I know after Pro Day, that's really going to blow up. I mean, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to perform pretty well. I'm confident in what I can display and that my traits are very coveted at the next level. So
awesome. Well, man, I appreciate it. Where can we find you on Twitter, Instagram, social media, all that stuff so we can smash the follow button?
Yeah. My Instagram and Twitter is The Beast Oge, The Beast OGE on Instagram, Twitter, all that. Hit me with the follow. Appreciate you guys, man.
Yeah, no doubt. You guys, of course, smash that follow button there. You guys can also find me on Twitter at Russ NFL Draft. Smash that follow button. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast. Go to Apple Podcasts, Spreaker.com, YouTube, however you go about your business. And all you have to do is search Cover One NFL Draft Podcast, and you'll find us there. So until next time, this is Cover One, the NFL Draft Podcast.